Welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, and just a little bit of beer.
So kill the lights, grab a cold one, and join us as we dive into this mad world we love.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
And I'm Jamie.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You miss me.
Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
And as a reminder to all listening, if you want to help us to continue growing as a podcast, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whichever streaming platform you use.
To stay up to date with us and all of our episodes, be sure to follow all of our socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fear and Beer Pod.
Feel free to reach out to us. We love to interact with you all.
2 more weeks, which means you're only 1 more week away from our 1 week until HHN Podathon. So you got that to look forward to at least. But soon enough, we will be in our sweet, sweet fog. But until then, let's just kill some time. We are going to do strictly a Q&A call-in style episode. We had a couple call-ins, but we had a good amount of questions presented to us from Instagram. So I figured we might as well take this week before we drop all of our other stuff in the coming week to kind of ask what you guys are into, or if you have questions about something and whatnot. So we're going to dig into that. There's really, at this point, no more news to be had for Horror Nights. We know what we're getting. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing. So I'm sure some stuff has come out since we've last talked. I think there's been some, new HHN food booths, and Unmasking the Horror Tours have started and all that stuff. But there's no point in rehashing any of that. We're going to get what we get. The food booths are up. The props are up. If you need updates on those, just follow us on Instagram, because we've kind of been pretty good about getting updates from various things like that. HHN Danny's helping us out, stay up to date on that. So follow us on Instagram, where we're getting updates out there. But other than that, let's just talk some random HHN. No real agenda. So before we get started, I did pick up a freshly brewed season Oktoberfest. It is the season, a real one, and this isn't one I've been holding on to for the last year that doesn't taste as good as it should. This is the real deal. But it's a little bit late. I know Jamie didn't grab a beer, so I think I'll just drink this for the pod today.
I did not. I have a tummy ache. Ate a bunch of snacks before recording.
Oh, God. It's just as good as I imagined. Good old Oktoberfest. You can just never.
I'm surprised they didn't have Pumpkinhead yet.
Some do. There's pretty much like a Find My Beer app or a Find My Beer website that I track where the Pumpkinheads are, and there's some Publixes that have them that are maybe 30, 45 minutes north, but I just didn't feel like driving out to grab that stuff today. So yeah, I guess let's just dive in. Let's get with these call-ins. So we just have, I think, 4 call-ins, but we have like maybe 15 or 20 Instagram questions to address. So let's just dive in and see what we're working with today.
Hello. I've never left a message before, so my apologies if this is like a little nonsensical. But I was curious what your opinions on this were. So I know last year with our icon Oddfellow, we got like some podcast episodes and a lot of other stuff in like the scare zone that sort of like explained his whole like backstory and his lore and stuff to us, and I thought that was really interesting. And I know this year we have Sinister and Surreal, the sort of, I'm not sure if they're the icons yet, but they're like the closest thing we have, and like 2 of the zones are going to be tied into them. So I was wondering, do you guys think maybe we're going to get any sort of like other information, like maybe another podcast episode, or maybe some extra little details and stuff in the scare zones that like sort of explain their story, like their lore, like who or what they are? Or is that something you guys would even want to see? Like, are you guys super pressed about learning about the lore or anything? That was it. That was my only question. Love you guys' show. Keep up the great work.
Oh, thanks for calling in. I didn't catch the name. I don't think he gave us. I don't think they gave one. Yes, but Yeah, so
Sorry, they didn't give a.
Yeah, it's tough to
name.
tell, but it's tough to tell on voicemails. But yeah, so that's they did do the podcasts last year on Oddfellows specifically, but I mean, I don't think we're getting any more. I don't know. It would seem pretty like close to the event if they were to drop another one because we've gotten what we've got in Universal Monsters, Monstros, Major Suites, and am I missing one?
Goblins?
Goblins Feast had one,
Mhm.
which is kind of like a weird. Oh, and A Quiet Place.
And A
So
Quiet
there's been
Place, yeah.
5. So it seems weird that they just like picked those 5, like a
Well, we've
monster.
still got 2 weeks left,
2
so I
weeks,
mean, they've
so-
got plenty of time to release a couple more.
So do you think? I guess that goes back to their initial question. Do you think we'll get another one? And if you do you think it's on Sinister and Surreal, the pseudo or icons or mascots, whatever they are labeled as such now?
I think it would be cool if they did, because I feel like that's one of always the fun aspects of it is getting to learn the backstories for some of these different icons or iconic characters that we've had over the years.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I will it be specifically about Sinister and Surreal? Maybe. I mean, I know that there's been a lot of questions in social media about kind of like what are these characters? What is their motivation? What is the story behind them? So I wouldn't put it past them to release something at some point. I won't lie. I don't particularly listen to a lot of the Universal stuff. Like I don't listen to the podcasts. I don't listen to like really any podcasts, to be honest with you. I might listen to a couple here and there, but I listen to music primarily. So I'm not a great barometer for like whether or not I think they will. But at the same time, I don't see why they wouldn't either. I know I can't remember. Did last year did they post one for every house or was it certain houses?
It was again kind of sporadic. I don't remember.
Yeah,
It
they
wasn't
kind of
every
just pick
single one of
certain
them.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
it
wonder if
definitely
maybe
was.
some of it's just because they can do a podcast episode related to it. Maybe some of them they just can't for whatever reason, or they just choose to take the ones that they think need some backstory added to it. Whether that's just to add some flavor to the house, or maybe they feel like the story needs some sort of explanation prior to going to it. I'm usually good enough with what we get with the tour. So like whatever we get on the 6 and 3 house tour, like that's enough backstory for me. I don't really need to follow every last bit of lore. That isn't really something that I'm super worried about.
Yeah.
But I know that other people tend to like to really dig into all the avenues of where the story comes from. So give me all the backstory. I want to know where all these characters come from. Why are they here? Why are they doing what they're doing? And that's great. So I think that's awesome that Universal takes the time to actually put more effort into it than just spend a bunch of money on the house and say, here you go. You interpret it the way you want to. So
Yeah, I don't particularly find the need as well. I feel like they're more mascots this year than anything. I don't know if they're really icon-ish level. The term has been so like put into a blender the last couple of weeks where it's like it just doesn't. Who knows if it means anything at any point now? But I don't think they're at the level that they're going to get the backstories and have any tie-in with previous lore. I kind of would hope for maybe a podcast or two. I think I'd like one on Triplets of Terror or the museum just to give some more backstory on either of those. But I just don't think we're gonna get maybe one more, maybe one. There is 2 weeks. I keep thinking we're close, but I keep thinking we're a lot closer than we
Still
actually
got a little
are.
time. Yeah.
So they don't record. They pre-record these obviously with knowing
Right.
all the backstory and stuff like that. So they might have a couple loaded up and ready to fire away, but I don't know. It's so tricky to try to like lock down their schedule and like their reasoning for which houses get one or which scare zones get one. It's really sporadic because they did one for Vamp last year. Like out of all of them, like
Yeah, they did. I forgot about that.
like did Vamp need a backstory? Like I guess
was
kind
cool.
of because you tied Oddfellow into it, but I just didn't think it was necessary. Neither here nor there, but I feel like last year it made a little bit more sense because Oddfellow was so tied to everything. Versus this year, we don't really have that feeling from either Surreal or Sinister. So, yeah. So let's move along to the next call in.
up, Fear and Beer? My name is Daniel. I've called before. Calling again because we are just about there. Can't wait. Very excited to get started. It's going to be a great season. So I first want to say that my hype is house in first place. I'm really looking forward to Major Sweet's Candy Factory. I think Major Sweet himself is going to probably end the season regarded as one of the best iconic characters from HHN33. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think the best scare zone will probably be Torture Bear, and that's only if it's really bloody and gory. So that's where my expectations are. But the question that I have for the three of you, I really want to know what Tater Flavor you're looking forward to the most, and if you think there might be any more new Tater Flavors coming this year. I remember last year's Emotion Tater. I believe it was like mushroom and porcini powder. I thought it was really, really good, so I hope that makes a return. But I kind of want to know what y'all like. I know it's a different question, but that's one of the things I look forward to is hopping in a line for, a good 45 minutes, but you got to grab that tater and a beer first. So, Ducktoberfest, Lacto Cooler, can't wait to get some of those. Those are like the things about HHN that I love, and we get to experience for like 2 months. So let's get it going. Can't wait to hear your response. We'll see you in the fog.
You Tater Flavor might be the new term.
I like that. That's such a fun question. I love the.
It's an awesome question.
Salt and vinegar,
salt and vinegar,
salt and vinegar, more salt
Simple.
and vinegar.
Simple man.
And just keep loading that bitch up. Yeah, that's.
But hey, as long as you now know that, like, even if that's not on the menu, you gotta ask for it.
Still have to ask. Yep.
You gotta ask, because last year, I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm sure Nick went the whole season without getting one because he didn't think they had them anymore. Mm-hmm. And let me just tell you, like, you want to see the broken heart of a 30-plus-year-old man? It's when Nick realizes he can't get a tater with salt and vinegar on it until somebody happened to mention that you could get one. You just had to ask for it, and he was like, "I'm surprised his heart didn't stop the last weekend."
Yeah, it got pretty dicey because I think I had 3 in one night just to like make up for lost time. But so, what are your go-tos then?
I'm boring. I like just the regular old, just salted,
plain,
plain salted,
a classic tater,
classic twisted.
Nice.
Yeah,
classic,
that's just
classic
me.
Irishman. Just give me the potato.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, my name is Seamus, for Christ's sake. But if I feel adventurous, barbecue's not bad when I feel adventurous.
A little BBQ, okay.
Yeah, a little BBQ.
Probably. So I really I hope they bring it back too. I was kind of worried that it would only be for The Last of Us last year, that like umami mushroom powder flavor one, the porcini one, because it was really, really good. I really like that one. But usually I get the seasoned salt, or like if they ever have like a little like spice. I think they had like a spice like one before, something a little spicy. I usually like a little spice on my twisted tater.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the second part of his question, do we think there's going to be new flavors? I think we're going to get at least one.
I think so too.
Themed flavor.
Yeah.
I think they did it last year. I think they started kind of like doing some theming. Obviously, the food in general is more themed than it has been. So I think there'll be some sort of new, funky flavor. I've been waiting for them to do like one of those weird, goofy, like sugary flavors that they've done with other things. Like, when they do like a Kool-Aid hot dog.
A candied twisted tater. Imagine
like a candied tater or something like that.
Or a little.
I mean, they've done candied meat, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
That pork fat with the candy on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't they be able to do like a tater with some sort of like, imagine it, cinnamon sugar.
Yeah. What I'm really curious, I wish they would
mix that with a pumpkin beer. Sorry.
Yeah, I wish they would do some sort of buffalo, like dip them in
buffalo would work too. Or maybe
spice.
even take that Tennessee hot, whatever the hell it was last year.
Like hot honey.
Hot, or is it? Yeah, like a hot honey or something like that, or like
if they did chicken. Like a buffalo like drizzle with like a little ranch drizzle, a little blue cheese crumble, kind of like how they did with the when they had the hot Cheetos one, which I had gotten it without the meat, but it still had the like queso and the hot Cheeto crumbles on it, and it was really good.
Or if they did like some sort of like, you guys have been to Gators before, like a Gator Tater version, like he comes in like a bucket, and you can just get ranch and
Yeah.
like load it up like a baked potato.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would dunk that thing in
That would be
buffalo
good.
sauce, pull it out all wet, and then just like some ranch.
You see them
seasoning.
like they dip it in ranch and they roll it in bacon bits. Fuck yeah,
Bucket.
dude!
A bucket of
My
buffalo.
heart would stop that night. Like I'd eat so many of them.
This is what you come to Fear and Beer for.
I hope that answer satisfies, Dan, because I'm so excited.
New segment, Tater Talk.
Tater Talk.
All right, let's get into another call in.
Fear and Beer, this is Crystal Halloween calling from Florida. I'm so excited about this year. My number one hype scare zone is Torture Bear. I recently started watching Game of Thrones, and then the scare zone was announced. So I feel like it's right up my alley right now. My most hyped house is Insidious. I'm not usually an IP girly, but I do think the Further and the characters in the Further are actually terrifying. Plus, James Wan directed it, and I really like his work, Dead Silence being one of my all-time favorites. So I'm excited to be immersed into that world. Thanks for taking my call, and special shout-out to HHN Heather. See you all in the fog.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for calling in. Yeah, Torture Fair. If you're in the midst of Game of Thrones, I could see that being like
it's perfect.
It's getting some love. I think a lot of people are excited for that one.
Now that they put more props up, I'm excited
already. Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. I'm also a Game of Thrones head. I read all the books up till now. Come on, Martin, finish this fucking stories. But
T.R. Martin.
I digress. And I have watched all the seasons. I have not started the second season of House of the Dragon yet, though, so sue me. But yeah, I think if you're into that fantasy world, or even if you're into like, this is gonna sound goofy, but if you're into like the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur story stuff, if you like Monty Python, you like all that, if you like any of that stuff, I feel like Torture Fair is gonna be right up your alley. And I think, kind of going back what the last caller said, as long as that scare zone, they go all in and it's not like super hokey and it doesn't feel like too much like a Ren Fair, and it actually does kind of give you some of that messed up, set pieces or whatever it might be, or if they make it as gory as they can in an outdoor scare zone setting, I think it'll be pretty cool. It could surprise as one of the better scare zones or the best scare zone this year.
Yeah, I'm not like super sold on it yet, but now that they put more props out, I'm definitely getting more excited for it. Again, I've talked about it, I'm not a huge fantasy person. Like, I haven't watched Game of Thrones. It's just kind of not my vibe, but I can appreciate it when it's done well. So I'm hoping that it's super gory and just over the top and ridiculous. So we'll see. But
that was good.
Then I Insidious, top of our hype list. That's an IP. That's I don't want to say a reach, but I've been burned by IPs that I've put at the top of my list before. Let's just say that.
I'm right there with you, though, Crystal. Don't worry. And I love the Dead Silence shout out, because that is a great movie and one of my favorites as well.
So let's get into
Insidious. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so go. You finish off.
I was just going to say, I think I agree. I think Insidious is going to be probably the top IP by the end of it. Everyone's going to like sing its praises.
Yeah. So let's get into our last call in, and then we'll start touching on some of the Instagram questions.
Hey, Fear and Beer, it's Joey Yanks, most commonly known as JWoww's near and dear close friend from the Jersey Shore. I'm calling in right now to kind of get your guys' thoughts. Should we be concerned about Demon Queen? I haven't seen a single prop in the zone, guys. There's that. And then my other big question was, what do we think could fix, say, the San Francisco scare zone? What do we think could go there? Help me to a great zone. I mean, come on now. I mean, I just wonder sometimes, you know? All right, well, I got to get back to fist pumping and knocking people out on the pier. You guys enjoy the rest of your
knocking people out on the pier. That was fucking hilarious. That was one shot, boy.
Caps are here. T-shirt time.
So funny. Those are great questions, though. Honestly.
Yeah. So So Demon Queens, right? Let's touch on that real quick. Yeah, there are no props up there currently.
None.
Yeah, they haven't really set anything up for it yet.
Nothing. So I'm under the assumption that they're gonna all sort of be roll-in props or roll-in stages because of the parade.
Probably.
So I don't know if we'll even see them up there.
Yeah, my guess
at all.
It'll kind of be along the lines of what we had for like Eddie's Scare Zone, the lights, camera, action, kind of roll out a lot of those stage set pieces that they usually put in Hollywood, and then the girls will come out, Demon Queens or whatever you want to call them. They'll come out and do their acts and whatever, and then you'll probably have like your random scare actors kind of roaming around with their demon minions will be roaming around, and I'm sure as much as we don't want it, there'll be the friggin' chainsaw people running around too,
right?
The demon chainsaw.
But I would be surprised if we saw the stages and props out there before Horror Night starts, just because of the parade factor. And it's nice because it's away from all the Stay and Scream areas. So like once you kind of shut the park down, you really don't have to worry about people at all. They're not like New York. Like New York is kind of infested by people. So it'd be tougher to kind of fill that whole zone during Stay and Scream. Whereas Hollywood, you can just kind of roll it out by where the parade goes in by the horror makeup show, by that gate, and you can just roll everything in and kind of call it a day.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Seamus.
Well, I was going to say, with that new parade too, and it kind of comes out of that area, they probably have to keep a lot of that stuff clear for now.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So they're going to have to make sure that scare zone is kind of like movable and can be moved in and out pretty easily.
Yeah.
So they can move it out during the day, move it back in. Whereas the other side, there's a little bit more space that they can push things off to the side and kind of leave them covered up.
Yeah. So let's get into the San Francisco debate, because, as they mentioned, the Hellbilly Deluxe, I think, worked extremely well as a scare zone. It didn't feel like it pushed any sort of bottleneck. Like the stages were elevated, so you could have characters kind of above dancing, doing their thing. So there's still like that character presence without taking up like ground level space. And there were some props like pushed to the way back and the sides, but for the most part, you still had that whole middle stretch to kind of hang out and party or whatever. And then we had stuff like Crypt TV, which I think worked about as well as it could work for what it was. Sort of like how Blumhouse is going to be this year. I think it's going to be what it is. It's sort of going to be stage setups with different characters. Like that's just kind of what it is. But I think they did really well with Conjure the Dark there as well. They had the stage pushed back a little bit. They didn't have a lot of props like in the middle. I think one of the bigger problems last year with Shipyard 2 is that giant crane and box thing took up a lot of real estate in that like little indented area. So like they didn't really give you a lot to work with. So and the truck was kind of angled. Like it created more narrow pathways than it already has. And they don't have a lot of space to work with over there. So they really need to expand that zone and utilize their space smartly. So take a page out of Conjure the Dark and have some sort of stage element in the back. I don't think you can this year because I think the house is going to dump out there, but you could have your stage in the back and then take a page out of Hellbilly Deluxe and elevate some stages and have characters higher than you. But what do you guys think about San Francisco?
I like that zone a lot personally, so it really kind of sucks that sometimes it doesn't get used to its full capacity because it's usually a very dimly lit zone, which is nice, makes it a little bit darker, good for like jump scares and stuff like that. But I think what I like in the zone that would make it a little bit better is if they kind of, because they do have a decent amount of props in there usually. I do feel like they're more scattered, like you had mentioned, Nick, but I feel like it just works a little bit better if they had more on the sides to make it kind of feel like a cohesive zone, if that makes sense. Kind of when you walk into like Central Park area and they have all the kind of like pathway like set out. I wish there was more of like a set pathway versus just so many different spots you could roam in and out of. I just think it would make it more set in stone.
Yeah, I just think that they haven't made the smartest decisions about how to lay it out, knowing that it is sort of troubled at times already. So, yeah. All right, let's get into some of our Instagram questions then. Let's see where we want to start. All right, so I think this was the first one. So We were asked, how do you think Epic Universe will affect HHN going forward? So it's a weird, tricky situation that I can only speculate on because I don't know the ins and outs of all this stuff. But I mean, obviously, I'm going to assume Horror Nights has their budget, Epic has their budget. But at the end of the day, it does come from the same umbrella. And I think that might be sort of a reason why we're noticeably having more, I don't want to say recycled stuff, but like borrowed things. Now, Horror Nights has giant warehouses full of props that they constantly reuse. So it's nothing new to them to recycle props, weapons, costumes, whatever. But the fact that we're in a year like this where, I mean, Major Suites is going to be what it is. I'm excited, but like they probably have a lot of that stuff or similar stuff. Blumhouse is some familiar properties and costumes that they don't have to really worry about. You have the museum, which I think is pretty easy to borrow other things and slip it in and just kind of give it a paint job and call it a day. Slaughter Cinema, again, since it's such like a mix-matchy thing, you can just kind of go down the hallways in the warehouses and be like, okay, we can use this, use this, use this. Perfect. Like, Ghostbusters, same thing. There's probably some pieces of costume or whatever. So I do think there's a lot of, they probably won't call it this, but, borrowed things. So whether that's directly related to Epic, your guess might be as good as mine, but I can't imagine while building this multi-billion-dollar theme park, they don't tell every other little department like, hey, for a little bit, we're going to have to not cheapen out, but like at least watch what we're doing. We can't just be as crazy. So I do think they will have to be a little bit more frivolous. And I don't think the quality is going to drop too much of it. But again, I think we'll see a lot more smart choices being made versus like crazy, wild, outlandish original concepts that are completely from the ground up. So are you guys sort of in the same wavelength?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not really sure if I have anything else to really add to it. I mean, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head.
It's all sort of a guessing game, from our side.
I mean, we're only ever going to know so much, and we can only gather what we've seen before, or kind of like what they're currently doing and where they're currently at. So,
Jamie, this one's not really as much of a question, but more of a statement. But I figured you'd like to comment on this one. It says, I honestly have a lot of hope for triplets and hope the Barmy family becomes a fan favorite.
I hope so,
That's kind of up your alley.
That is up my alley. I hope so, too. And I'm glad that people are giving this some sort of recognition because I do think it could have an interesting story and an interesting grab for people being that more of that slashery, gory house as we've talked in previous houses before. So I'm really hoping that the Triplets of Terror live up to the hype because I do have a feeling that this will be a pretty cool house.
All right. The next question. What is a food or drink item you hope returns at HHN30 from any past event year? Seamus, you got anything? What do we think?
Specifically from 30 or just
anything that's... What do you hope returns this year from any year?
Oh, pumpkin donuts.
That's kind of where I thought you were going to go.
That's easy. Pumpkin donuts.
Yep.
Bring me the pumpkin donuts. Oh my God. If you can, I'm telling you, like, give me 12 of those bad boys and I can already feel myself gaining weight. Right. So
you're in the line for a house. You got a little pocket donut on you. Just pop that thing in.
Oh yeah. Pumpkin donuts and a pumpkin beer.
Come on, Napoleon. Give me some of your donuts. I would say a drink item. I want Shipyard Pumpkinhead back. I think it's...
Oh, well, that's true too.
10 times better than the whole hog or whatever the beer is, but
yeah, it really is.
And then food item, before I die, I need to eat another Halloween Horror Nights jalapeno popper grilled cheese.
The grilled cheeses, I almost forgot about them. They're so good.
Those were amazing.
Delectable.
Jamie, what about for you? Anything?
Honestly, it was only last year. I'm so jumbled up I can't even speak about it because how good it is. But the poutine that they had last year was really, really good. And I know it kind of really doesn't fit the theming of some of the stuff this year, but I'd like to see that back at some point. Drink wise, I know they've been doing it consistently the last couple of years, but the original Sin Cider is something I always like to see there. So hopefully we get that again this year. And bring back the pineapple high noons, or high noons in general. The Trulies are terrible.
Yeah, Trulies are truly terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had something, but maybe not. All right, moving on. How are the Universal Monster Orlando houses all linked? Are they a continuous story? I don't
believe they are.
I don't believe they
so.
are. I think the only ones that are going to tie in really is the Bride of Frankenstein Lives house tying into this Bloodlines house, but I believe all the other ones are sort of
they are kind of standing on their own because like the first one was a compilation. There really wasn't any type of through line. It was just this monster, this monster, this monster, except for creature, this monster, this monster, this monster, and then like the following one was Bride, right? But that was the year we got hit with
that was 30.
COVID.
Yep, so that was 30.
Yeah, so that was COVID. So that was like the wasn't really an event, but kind of an event. So I feel like that house was lacking anyways. But the story, I think that's the only, like you said, I think that's the only one that's carrying through to this year a little bit, just because the character is the same. But I have a feeling the stories really won't match up.
Yeah,
I mean, they might have something in the backstory, but I don't think it'll be anything that you can really see when you're going through the house. I think each one of them is kind of their own separated experience.
Yeah, and that's could aid to the bad blood of like the Dracula's Countess, the daughter, and the bride because of the whole Brides of Frankenstein versus Brides of Dracula. But yeah, Legends Collide was sort of its own thing. It didn't tie into the compilation or the Bride's House. And then last year with Unmasked, again, I think it was kind of like Collide. It was its own story with those characters and didn't really touch upon anything.
And like I told us before, with a lot of the Monsters houses, technically they're obviously Universal properties, like they're Universal characters, but they still have to clear it with the Universal movie studio. So a lot of times, whatever they do, the story still needs to be cleared by the movie studio. Mm-hmm. And the character, like the whole, whatever they're doing has to be like okayed. It's not just like they can take whatever character and say, we're going to put them with this person and do this story. They have to like make it make sense. And that's why, fun fact with the Collide house, they told us that it's actually based on some random mummy movie from like the 1930s or whatever, not like or 1940s, like not like the original Mummy or anything like that. Yeah, like the Mummy's Hand, which is some random Universal Monsters movie that I'm sure nobody expected.
No,
but
yeah, I think that's. I mean, I don't know if you had any other input on that, Jamie, but I think that's. I don't think they kind of tie together.
Yeah.
With everything being so seemingly recycled this year, do you think we see anything new? So we kind of just
say that again. Can you read that one more time?
With everything being so seemingly recycled this year, do you think we see anything new? Because I do think, like we just talked about that a little bit with the whole Epic budget. Like it seems like they're gonna easily pull everything from various spots. So I don't know. What do you, if there was anything like new, what do you think, Seamus?
I guess I don't quite understand, like new as in like.
I think like
new props, new.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where.
I mean, I think a lot of stuff is going to at least appear new. I don't think that you're going to go into this year and see just nothing but a bunch of rehashed everything. I mean, like they've told us before, like a lot of their props that they in the houses are just reused props. Like it's not like they build brand new stuff for every house every year. So like even if like they are reusing elements of things, it's still gonna feel new. But yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't. I think we're gonna get some new characters in this Slaughter Cinema house. I think we might get some new movies, maybe a pretty iconic character that will eventually turn into its own house. Excuse me, kind of like the Yeti house did. So maybe we'll get something like that. Maybe we'll get some new type of Yeti, which I guess isn't really new, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a different version of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think the scare zones, I think for the most part, like Demon Queens will be something that's, I think, relatively different.
Yeah, that'll be out there, I think.
A lot of unique costuming and things like that. But I mean, as far as like anything like brand new, probably not. Like, I think we're still getting the same type of show. Obviously, we're getting the
nocturnal circus, I think it is.
Yeah, so it's going to be a new version of the same show. So I mean, that's what I think. I don't know if you guys think there's something else that you might catch that's new-ish.
Anything new, Jamie, that you think?
Sorry, Nick, I didn't know if you were going to go. I definitely think we're going to see new merch stuff. I feel like over the last couple of years, just with the different, obviously it's going to be new merch stuff every year with the designs and stuff like that, but more with like the stuff.
They are. Yeah,
like
I think they
more like chain wallets or the cool, like I got like a really cool like crossbody bag last year to like go.
Hold on,
it was cool, or like the fanny
you want to talk about
with and stuff. So I always like seeing the fun new merch stuff that they have.
You want to talk about new merch? You want to talk about the merch that we saw today that Nick is super excited about?
Oh, speaking of, they just dropped the little Boo pumpkin little shoulder rest
Jesus
guy.
Christ.
So
the
cute.
Plush
Really
little Boo
cute.
sits in your shoulder.
I love
a little magnet.
That's new.
That is new.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and that is new because I think they have like a little Hedwig, like Harry Potter one, and they have some other ones for the park too. So I think it's going to sell well. It's super cute. I might have to get one.
Some turks sold out already.
Shit's going to sell out like in the first couple of nights, probably.
Yeah.
But you're right about one thing. They are kind of offering different shirt colors. So we're getting like we have like an orange shirt. We've got acid wash shirts
too, because I feel like I kind of like sway away from the shirts and try to get like other like different like little merch stuff, just stuff I'll try and like use more at least. Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, as far as new, I mean, the Nightmare Fuel show. I think they read the room and they're like, okay, time for a full on swap. Like same kind of deal, you know, Fuel girls dancing, provocative, whatever. But like, we have to really freshen this thing up.
Story will be different. Music will be changed up, which is good. They got to keep it somewhat fresh. Can't do the same thing for.
I hope there's still magic in it.
I'm sure there will be, Jamie. Don't you worry.
I love the magic.
But I mean, for as stale as it had gotten near the end, like people were still pumped. I mean, that last show, last night was. I mean, it was bumping.
They're just such great performers. They just give all their energy to every single show.
They definitely do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
The choreography always works really well. So I'm sure they'll come up with something pretty cool and fresh and new.
They be working hard.
Yeah. So we got asked, now that we know all the houses, where do you guys plan on starting your adventures on opening night?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
I haven't really thought too much about it yet. So last year I feel like 2 years ago we did a lot of Simpsons Stay and Scream because we would go to Duff Gardens, and then last year we did a lot. Finnegan. We did Finnegan's.
We did Finnegan's primarily last year.
So I feel like I might go back towards Simpsons again because I'm assuming Slaughter Cinema will be one of those earlier houses. Man, I'm not sure yet though. I mean,
I would probably say we'd start with Slaughter.
Go Duff Gardens and start with Slaughter.
That's what I think you probably end up doing. Yeah,
I think that's a good first.
Because I mean, to be fair, which IP are you like desperately trying to get into opening night?
Yeah, I don't.
Insidious, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I want to do Quiet Place, but it's but it's gonna for me. A Quiet Place is really gonna depend on the wait times. If the wait time for a Quiet Place is like The Last of Us, it won't be one that I try to get into immediately. But there really isn't that IP that I'm like, we got to make sure we're there, stay and scream, get in line. Like last year was Stranger Things, obviously, right? Like that was we got to get in line for that. But are you standing in a fucking downpour for Insidious or or Quiet Place? You know what I mean? Because it seems like with knock on wood, but like our luck is always opening night. It just fucking downpours on us and we waterlogged like within the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, bring an umbrella. I always do.
Yeah, you do. I stopped making fun of you for that. I learned my lesson, Jamie.
Yeah, so I'm hopefully going to be planning accordingly this year better. But time will tell. So I think Slaughter is the good bet, because then we can bang out all those originals in the back. But that's that. All right. So next question. What's your opinion? God. What's your opinion on the chokehold Lil Boo has on merch? Good or bad in your opinion? Good timing on that question. Good.
Well, we kind of know how Nick feels.
Boo. Boo. Yeah, no.
I don't know if I would. I mean,
just kind of over it.
I wouldn't.
But it sells. It sells.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they do it, because obviously it's going to make money. Do I consider it a chokehold on the merch? Probably not. I don't think it's like. Do they have to release something every year with him on it? Or I shouldn't say him, but with it on it? Like, I guess. I mean, doesn't yes. I don't lose sleep. I don't lose sleep at night over it. I wish that. I mean, I wish they would maybe try to come up with some different characters or different, stuff.
Until something outsells it, it's sticking.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, people are gonna keep buying it. And the thing is like, I just wish they wouldn't have like 2 or 3 event shirts, and one of them has to have the pumpkin on it. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. I really like that cartoony shirt, but I don't know if like Lil Boo kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
Like, I like how new school-y, tattoo-y it looks, but like the pumpkin, I'm just not sure if I dig that being on there. But as far as like, I don't think it owns the merch. I think it's just one of those things that if it works and it sells, people are gonna. I mean, they're gonna keep doing it.
People love cute shit. I love cute shit, and that's why
exactly, so and that's really what it is. Like, I'm surprised they don't do like handbags or like purses or backpack. Did they have one with with the logo on it? Oh, okay.
They sure did.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah,
shows how much I remember.
They'll find a way to.
They'll find a way. I think I do kind of like the shoulder plushie. I think is kind of.
It is cute.
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
At least it's something different, right? It's not
right.
Cool exactly. If, like, he had sound though, and if you just like touched him, he just like screamed.
Or if he lights up, like his eyes light up.
Yeah, it's cool. Like it's kill me. Next up, what days will y'all be at HHN?
A
lot of them.
Let's see. Let's think about this. Sundays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Usually always Sundays, because me and Nick are off. Well, I'm off on Monday, so that usually works out for me.
Yeah, I mean, stay up.
I'm not, but I don't care.
Follow us on Instagram. I'm generally very good about posting when we'll
near, post when we're going.
It's not because we are local, we don't have like a designated weekend or
there's no set days.
It's
I mean, outside of opening weekend, book it. Like, we'll be there.
Yeah. So if you're looking to like say what's up or something for a specific day or whatever, just make sure you're following us on Instagram, and there's a pretty high likelihood that one of us will probably be there.
We'll be there.
So what will be the best part of HHN this year? So who wants to take this one?
That's a broad question. Best thing?
Yeah, it doesn't have to. It's not like what's your favorite house, not your favorite. What's just the best thing?
The first night walking through the gates, walking through the entrance of Horror Nights. I feel like that first night getting there is always just so exciting and like fun to look forward to. Like, oh my God, we're here and it's starting.
Yeah,
but I feel like even other than that too. Sorry to cut you off, Nick, but just like getting to hang out and see a lot of people I usually don't get to see very often, which is nice too.
Yeah, I'll go. You know what? I'll kind of go along with what Jamie's saying. This doesn't happen often, but the nights where it's just chilly enough that you can wear a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of like gives me some of that old time, like, because again, we've said it before a million times, at least 2 of us are from New England originally. So like we sometimes miss some of that sweatshirt fall weather that we don't get here very often. So the few times every year in Florida where the fall kind of does get a little chilly at night, a little windy, it's nice, kind of getting that feeling, mix that with the sounds, the music, the fog, the pumpkin beer, the yam beer. I think just that feeling of, man, this this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my home, like away from home. I think that's usually my favorite thing about it. If I'm not talking any particular house,
Yeah,
and then of course hanging out with people too.
Yeah, I think opening weekend is really maybe just because that's the first thing that's coming up is opening weekend. So I think that's what's got me pumped up. But I do just love opening weekend. Just finally being back. You mentioned going through the gates. That doesn't really apply too much because
I didn't.
we
I was
get in
just
there
after I
early. So
said
it's
that,
like,
I was like, after the event starts, I should say,
it's really
because we
like
don't.
once you get out of that first house, because like
Yes.
even when you're getting in line for that first house through Stay and Scream, it doesn't really feel like Horror Nights yet because like the audio's not really on yet. It's just the lights are still on. Everything's it's sunny and it's 1,000 degrees out.
When the
But,
sun
like,
starts setting,
It's kind of like, it was, and this is going to sound stupid, but like now that we've been doing this podcast for as long as we have, it's kind of like that Cheers effect where like, we're going to go down where everybody knows your name, like that type of thing. Like you walk in and like every other person you see, you're like, hey, what's going on? Like you seeing old friends again. Because, obviously, we don't see everybody all year round. It's kind of like, this is really what brings everybody together, at least in this community.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of going back to school, right? Where you're out of school for 2 months. Like this is like going to school for 2 months.
Right.
You get to see all your classmates again. So the next one, Slaughter Cinema was the first house I ever went into. So I am pumped for Slaughter Cinema 2.
Wow.
That's a very good first house to ever have.
Yeah, it's a solid first house.
I haven't even been in Slaughter Cinema.
I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember my first house. I don't
remember mine either, and mine wasn't that long ago.
So
I got to post about it today for our little throwback.
Take a guess.
The
It's probably
school.
as close. I mean, maybe Freddy versus Jason, because that was like why I went there. So like maybe we just went in there and beelined it to Freddy versus Jason. So I just kind of claimed that as mine, but who knows at this point. But I'm very excited for Slaughter Cinema 2. I'm excited and nervous. I just don't want it to disappoint. I think it has such high expectations that it could just it has no room for error in my eyes.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find these ones that are, because we had a couple that are similar. So what do you think will be the surprise house? Underestimated, but ends up a favorite.
Museum.
Triplets of Terror.
Museum, Triplets. I was torn between those two.
Or A Quiet Place.
In order,
or A Quiet Place. Yeah.
I'd say I was gonna pick A Quiet Place as far as to give some IPs like the chance to fit into that category as well. So I think those three are your best bet for like surprise hits, because when it comes to originals, it's right now it's Major Suites, it is Slaughter Cinema, it is those two as like the hype train, right? And I think Museum and Triplets are sort of falling.
Yeah, and I think
to that
for this type of question, like for a house that to fit into this category, it has to be a house that not a lot of people or nobody's like really hyping up, or everyone's kind of like unsure, kind of like how Darkest Deal was last year. No one really knew what to expect with that house, and then you get there and you're like, God damn, like this house is unbelievable. Kind of like Puppet Theater was that way. Descendants of Destruction was that way. Like houses that you didn't really expect much from, or you really weren't sure what to expect.
Yeah.
And then you get there and it really is one of the better houses. That's why I think that like a house like Museum works, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be that good, or it doesn't sound like it's really hard to really kind of gauge what it's going to be. Same with A Quiet Place, even though it's a property and we know what the movie's about, we really don't know how that house is going to, how it's going to work. So it's not a lot to put into expectations, because you really don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Triplets of Terror, I mean, I'll give it to you. I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting too many expectations on it, or I just expect it to be a certain thing. And if it isn't what I expect it to be, it could surprise me. But I'm less on the side of it's, that's going to happen. I don't know. But again, that's just me being biased, because that's what I do.
Yeah. And we got another question that was kind of along the same lines, which is just which house do you see as the sleeper? So I think that kind of answers both questions.
I think it's the same. Yeah. Pretty much the same answers.
We got can we meet up for a beer in the fog this year? Well, fuck yes, we can.
Hell yes.
All you got to do, like I said, we'll probably be posting on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there. So I know people have in the past like messaged and like, oh, we're going this day and this day and this day. I was like, okay, I will do my best to remember, but just day of or whatever, make sure, just reach out. Just shoot us a message on Instagram.
Yeah,
That's
say, hey,
the one
we're
I check
going to
the
be
most.
there tonight. You guys going?
Yeah, I don't check Twitter as often. As far as messages, I'm pretty bad on that one, just because we're much more active.
I mean, we're pretty easygoing and busy. I mean, the one thing to keep in mind is we don't go on Saturdays outside of opening and closing weekends. So if you're going on a Saturday during like mid-season, we won't be there. But yeah, like Nick said, just shoot us a message or let us know that, hey, we're going to be there tonight or this weekend or whatever, and we'll do our best, and we'll definitely try to shoot over there. I mean, we all live relatively close to the theme park, so we kind of do just go. We just kind of show up. A lot of times, like I said, our ritual, at least Nick and our ritual, is football on Sundays, and then after football, you go get a beer and walk around in the fog for a few hours.
Yeah,
while I take a nap.
While Jamie takes a nap and then meets us over there eventually with friends.
We got multiple ones that are. What house are you looking forward to most? What is your most hyped house?
We'll get there.
So we'll get there. That'll be.
It's a house episode.
That'll be a house episode we have coming out for you soon. I don't want to.
Can't spoil it yet.
I don't want to tip my hand too much yet. That's
yeah.
And
I'm not even really sure I've hammered out my list yet.
Yeah, I'm still pretty behind on that.
And the good thing is this year, at least for me, like obviously this event doesn't really excite me. Like I don't want to say it like I'm not like super pumped about any particular house, but at the same time, I don't really have any house that I'm like, this is gonna suck. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like last couple of years, there's always been that one or two houses where I'm just like, you can have that. Nothing. That's not for me.
Yeah,
I haven't. I mean, the closest one, I don't know. Actually, it's a good question. I'm not sure. I really got to think about it because I haven't really given the hype list much thought yet.
No, me either. Someone asked us if we do you guys count how many runs you do for each house?
Yes.
Yep. So I do.
I try to, but then I end up forgetting and lose track and never go back to it.
I have a note on my phone that I'll just mark down every time I do a house.
Same.
Because it is fun to like see like how many houses how many times did you do specific houses?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, especially when you're talking about like our favorite houses at the end, and we rank them at the end of the season. It's good to kind of see like, I really like this house, but how many times did I actually do it? You know what I mean? Like the Monsters house last year, I did a bunch because I really ended up liking it.
Blood Moon, we did a bunch.
Blood Moon, we did a bunch too.
I did. So I actually have my tracker right here in my notes.
Oh, do you have it?
I do this really for myself. Like you said, I don't use this to like try and show superiority or whatever. But I also like to break it down. Like how much did my pass cost per house and like per night? Like how much did I spend? So I did 19 nights last year. So my pass was $15 a night for me. And I did 118 total runs. So for some, that's a lot. For some, that's still amateur hour, which came down to $2.50 a house.
You're so funny.
I don't need to go into which ones we did each one, but Darkest Deal, I did the most at 15 times. And then The Last of Us, I did 5 times only. And everything else was sort of in between the two. So yes, we do track it just for kind of our own sake. But Todd didn't leave us a question, but wanted to say just thanks again for the wonderful content, and it is almost here.
Todd is so nice.
No problem, Todd.
Todd's a true one. He's a true one.
We live to serve.
We can't wait for you to come on down again Canada a little bit.
Come on down.
So
can we officially call Todd our favorite Canadian? Does that work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
like
cool. You're our favorite Canadian, Tom. Not to make this weird or anything, but you know.
I don't think I have.
You're probably the only Canadian that I know. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean he's up there.
I don't really know anybody else, or I don't know of anybody else from Canada. So
that makes so much more sense. Canadians are always nice.
That is
true,
saying,
right? I was gonna say that
is true.
Saying, right?
Which are?
I should say like it maybe a close second to Ryan Reynolds, and I think Todd would understand, right? So, because Ryan Reynolds may be my favorite Canadian.
So this is a good one, and one I probably should have thought more about. Which original HHN house, any year, do you wish Universal would make into a movie?
House?
Yeah, so like
what original house?
Yeah, like what house, whether story wise or whatever, should be made into an actual movie?
Case Files.
It's a good one.
I would go
Seamus.
Case Files
That's a good answer.
and film it like Sin City.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of too. Yep. Black and white with just like the pops of like,
Mhm.
yep.
And make it kind of give it that pop art feel.
That'd be cool.
All right, yeah.
I'm trying to think of something that like wouldn't already be similar to a movie that's like a horror movie that's already been made. Because I was gonna say The School, because it's one of the first houses I go to, but that's already very similar to Children of the Corn. So that's tough to think about. Nick, do you have one, or are you thinking on it for a minute too?
I mean, my heart just wants to say Dead Man's, but I don't know if it would be that good of a house. Good of a movie.
It'd be The Lighthouse.
I mean, I don't think it would be too bad. I mean, you'd focus the story kind of on the captain and his wife, and then like her haunting the sea town. It's almost kind of like Midnight Mass had that feel, even though it wasn't about ghosts, but it's that like seaports island town, and there's something going on, and everybody's affected by it a certain way. Actually, you know what? If like they did like a pseudo Stephen King style 8-part miniseries about the pier, I think that could work.
Yeah. I mean, what if you did Slaughter almost as like an anthology series?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. Come on.
Do like a Slaughter Cinema.
Yeah.
Shutter. Let Shutter do it.
Kind of like a VHS type deal.
Yeah.
Or Trick or Treat.
Or Trick or Treat. And then tie it all together and have Jack kind of like tie it all together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still surprised that there has been zero, I don't want to say effort, but seemingly effort to push any of these towards an actual movie of sorts.
Right.
Like, I feel like the icons themselves could have at least a series on Peacock and do an episode about each one.
You would think that they might do something, but
Behind the Screams.
Yeah, I mean, but like not documentaries.
No, but like an actual like movie or TV show. Or something.
Yeah, like each
miniseries.
Yeah, each episode, 45 minutes to an hour, and each icon gets like a little story or something. I don't know. I've always thought that they should do that. And
I wouldn't mind like a Graveyard Games movie too.
Yeah,
it's giving goosebumps. I like it.
But that's just my selfish, wants and needs. Like, I don't know if it would make a good movie or not, but
even like same thing, Wicked Growth would be a good one, but then like Pumpkinhead, so kind of similar.
Yeah. There's,
but if they made it like that would it be campy? That's the only question. Like, would they make Pumpkinhead like Pumpkinhead? Would they make like Pumpkin Lord like a campy character like they did the following year after his house?
Yeah.
Then that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, just a couple more. Do you guys have any thoughts for what the theme of this year's HHN tribute store will be?
The theme?
Yeah, so what
I think it's going to follow the same theme that it is right now.
Like rock
80s,
concert
90s. No, I mean like movie rental place.
I think it's going to be a haunted house.
Okay.
Because if you look at if you go in there, like they have all like the TV, like the DVD boxes or VHS boxes have like the people's pictures on it. So I think that's going to kind of encompass that in some way. So my guess is they might follow the same theming.
I was thinking
that's boring, but
I was thinking maybe like some sort of punk rock concert room, like have all the shirts like band merch style,
like a green room,
chain link fence and stuff like that.
Did you see the props for the tribute store that they're selling though? It's like
what is it? It's
random,
like food or something.
It's like random like canned good like foods and like stuff like that.
Oh,
like
really?
llama beans and like a coffee, like old school, like coffee tin, like 50 style, like looking food. So I think it's gonna be like a retro kind of like throwback, maybe like haunted house thing. Because then at the tribute store they have now, they had that little haunted house sneak peek tribute store like Easter egg thing, but I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
But that's the facade. That was the facade of one of the previous houses.
I think that was when they had like the dark ride haunted house.
Yeah,
or dark ride haunted
maybe
house
the
tribute
food
store.
items are like bunker food, almost sort of like Quiet Place,
or something like that. Yeah,
because that's all they have in Quiet Place is sort of like just shitty food that's
true
non-perishables.
I I kind of want to do it this year and do the llama beans. The canned bean one is really funny, actually. It looks cool.
Maybe they had a whole bunch of extra Last of Us tin cans they needed to get rid of, so they're just going to reuse them as. Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate the reuse.
Right. So, do you know of any reoccurring HHN Easter eggs in the houses for fans to look out for?
Well,
yes.
There are the little animal things that they hide throughout the house. Last year was frogs, I think.
Frogs.
Yeah.
Or was it butterflies?
And
frogs.
It was frogs last year, and like each house had a different. They themed the little mini frogs, and most of these you're not going to unfortunately be able to.
You're not going to see them.
They're small and it's dark. But like the Stranger Things frog had like a little Dustin hat on it, and they're small. They're tiny little things.
Yeah.
The year before it was butterflies. Each house has one hidden in there.
Right.
And I do think that this year I did see that they were snails. I think snails and snacks.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, is it snails?
That's what people had said from the Unmasking the Horror Tours.
That's
not
fun.
really like a spoiler thing, but I think the little hidden things are snails.
I have a feeling that you're gonna probably have to look out for some sinister and or surreal tie-ins somewhere. They're not gonna do it's not gonna be super overt like Oddfellow was last year, but I have a feeling that you might get something that's related to that in each house, like something small that you might have to look for pretty hard. They do tend to hide other things like names of designers and team members in certain places of the house too.
I feel like a couple that I've seen before in previous houses. Billy, the puppet from the Dead Silence house back in 2006, was seen in Puppet Theater. Billy, they really like using some of the Dead Silence Easter eggs in graveyard games, actually. When you're walking through one of the graveyard kind of like tomb rooms, and on top you could see some of the tombstones. They have the MS for Mary Shaw, and then the Billy, like his little gravestone. So I feel like they've used those in multiple houses before that I used to. And I feel like there's something else that they've used in the house that they've pointed out on the tour, and I'm like, oh, is this from this? And they're like, we're not saying it is, but I mean, it could be, because they don't obviously want to say that they're pointing it out for people to know. But I always
there'll be a few things. Like usually, if you see like an axe, it's generally the same axe that they used in the Shining house.
Oh yeah, that's what they told us for too. That was cool.
If you see, I have a feeling that in triplets there'll be a lot of the stuff that we had in Texas. So you'll have like the big pig pen thing. You'll see some other things that are kind of roped in from that. They do tend to, like I said, they've reused a lot of props, and they do it in a way that's unique and different.
In Dead Man's, they said that they used that same little cutesy dog-like portrait in a lot of the houses. I forgot what the dog's name is.
I forget the dog's name is.
I knew I was going to say Thunder.
Yeah.
So cute.
So they have like that dog picture Thunder. And the pigs too from Chainsaw were originally from Saw.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of the pigs left over, and same thing with like if you see like a little red tricycle, probably from the Billy the Puppet.
From Saw.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do have the pretty famous prop Old Smoky, which is like the big electrical chair. That's
That
been around since 2004.
And then,
the Blood Angel or the Blood Eagle.
The
Blood Eagle.
Yeah, that spread eagle thing. Yeah, that big hanging prop.
So that's one to keep your eye out. But yeah, they definitely do hide certain
I love
things.
Easter eggs. So fun.
Yeah. What way do you advise hitting the houses to get the most done in one night? Well, let me tell you. We got the episode for you coming up next week. I think if you listen along to our 1 week till HHN Podathon, we will have an episode dedicated towards helping people kind of decide how to do that. So
it'll be more in detail.
Answer that question next week for you. How's that?
Not to think we're ignoring you. We just have it in more detail in the episode.
Yep. And we
have a plan. That's the best thing we can tell you right now.
Yeah. And we'll let you know which plan's best for you later.
Stay and scream.
Yeah. What do you hope the Halloween milkshake will be this year? I'm hoping a Major Sweets theme. So is there? I don't know where those are.
Cotton candy.
Halloween milkshake.
I've never had.
I've never heard of this.
Where the fuck is the Halloween milkshake?
Is that the sweets place?
Do you know something that we don't know?
Is that the place next to Hard Rock?
No. I think. Remember how they had like the candy corn slush and milkshake before that year over where they have the little where they always in Central Park have that big line of food booths and stuff like that. I feel like at that kiosk over there across from the Mummy, they usually do have little milkshake or slushies. I thought it was maybe not a milkshake, though.
Regardless, it'll probably be sweets related.
Are we stupid? Do we not know about this?
I don't know. I've never heard of this
before. I
before.
don't know about milkshakes. I got nothing.
Or maybe they do have it at the Toothsome. Maybe they do have it there.
Might be
like nothing specific. I don't remember anything being explicitly stated that this is like the milkshake for this year, but like maybe there is something.
Because I know Voodoo usually does a donut for Horror Nights.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I keep saying it, but maybe like a cotton candy flavor or something.
If you listen to this episode, message us and let us know because I'm real curious.
Yeah,
I love me a little.
Ask the question.
Fuck when it comes to Horror Nights, I don't care about calorie intake during the months.
Yeah. We don't. I mean, if it wasn't for my workout, I'd be 300 pounds.
If I could guess, maybe they'll do like a black and red inspired one, like a black velvet, red velvet inspired one for Insidious, or maybe like a green weird one for like Ghostbusters or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, Ghostbusters too.
Yeah, like a key lime one. Oof.
I wouldn't. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd be down for like a lacto cooler slushy.
Like a little float, maybe.
Yeah.
A beer float. I don't know how great that would be.
I mean, I'm thinking just like they do like like a frozen slushy, like do one with the lacto cooler.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know about all the milkshakes. Now I'm interested. So
I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about wraps us up for this week's little Q&A call-in. We're going to sort of end this in a different way. Sometimes we do the, what have we watched this week? But we are recording so much this week that we don't really need to spend any more time than we have to. So instead of doing all that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you. I should have told you this at the top of the episode, but I'm going to read you off
because we didn't even
our
know.
episode list for our 1 week till HHN Podathon.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
So starting next week, August 23rd, we will have our Guess the House episode, which we are going to be guessing for all 10 houses, kind of what we think the facade will be, what we have as like a wish list item, what we think one room will be like, and we'll kind of go into detail for each house. August 24th, we are going to have that How to HHN episode, which we sort of just alluded to. So how to attack single nights, how to attack multi-nights, stay in Scream versus late night. That's also the episode we're going to get into our wait times over and under. And we're also going to get into our underperform or overachieve for the houses. So that one is a pretty loaded up episode right there. The Sunday, August 25th, is our HHN Fantasy Draft 24. This is a fun one. We brought along some really, really fun guests with us. So it's the three of us joined by Johnny Bronto from Hot and Scene, Adrian from Losh TV, and then Michael from Hallowed Thrills. So we have a full cast for that one. On August 26th, we are going to get into our HHN33 hot takes. Don't hate us, but they're hot.
Don't hate Nick.
Yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit. August 27th, we are going to be doing our Insidious. I don't want to call it a deep dive, but we're going to go over each movie briefly, and we're going to give you our rankings as a franchise whole. And I believe we are going to be joined by Jordana over at Pretty Killer Podcast.
Yay!
For that episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really fun one. August 28th, we are going to be doing a virtual trivia event. So what that is we are going to do it just like a live trivia event where we're going to have a whole cast and crew of people giving a category and 5 questions. So what they're going to do is they're going to read their category. They're going to read their question one at a time. They're going to pause for about 5 seconds in between questions. So that way you, the listeners at home, can pause the episode, fill out your answer, and then resume the episode. And then at the end of their little expert, they're going to give the answers so you can kind of mark right or wrong at home. You can cheat all you want, but it's really not for anything. So you don't win or lose anything. So just a fun little way to involve a whole bunch of voices in the community. So I don't want to say exactly who's on there 100% yet because I'm still waiting. So I don't want to promise anything that's not filled, but I know Cece from See You at the Pod has submitted theirs. Matt from Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights has submitted his, and a couple other people have kind of put theirs in yet, but we're going to have a whole bunch of people joining in for our virtual trivia. August 29th, this is the only one that may change depending on what Universal gives us, because that is going to be our food and beverage breakdown. But if we don't get it in time, we might have to pivot and do something different. I know they put out their menus very last minute. So that's the only one that if it changes, it is out of our hands. So we're waiting until as long as we can wait to record that one. And then finally, on August 30th, opening day, that is when you will get our hype list for our houses, zones, and show. Spoiler alert, Nightmare Fuel is my number one show.
Same.
But yeah, so we're going to put that out on opening day. So that way, if you wake up a little early, you need something to listen to while you're at Stay and Scream, we got you covered. So bang, 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 bang. 8 days in a row, 8 brand new episodes, long ones too. These are a lot longer than last year. If you were here last year, we had a couple 20s, a couple 30-minute episodes. No, these are all hefty ones. So we're here for you. We're putting the work in, and we hope that you'll join us. So that schedule will be posted on Saturday, so you can see everything in writing. But for those listening, we wanted to give you a little heads up beforehand. So that's what we're into. Again, just preemptively, thank you. This off season flew by. I'm really excited to get all these episodes out there to you, because this is a lot of hard work, and it's a true labor of love. We obviously don't get paid off for this. We don't, we don't get crazy access to stuff, but we do it for the fans. So we hope you appreciate it. And I hope that this makes your week go by a little bit faster. So until next time, this is Nick.
And this is Seamus.
This is Jamie.
Happy Haunts. We'll see you next week, and you're not going to be able to get rid of us for that whole week.
Cursed. It's got a death curse.
It's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go